Hey DARKPEN fam, this story I'm gonna tell you is about an old Japanese legend. The kind that old ones tell around crackling fires to keep children huddled close. It's a tale that's been whispered for generations, a chilling reminder from the past. Ever had a dream so vivid it felt real? Tonight's story takes us on a chilling journey through one such dream, perhaps one where the lines between legend and reality blur. Get ready for a tale that will leave you questioning everything. Let's unravel this chilling dream together. The dream solidified around me with a chilling vividness. The weight of a 6-year-old boy pressed down on my back. His small body a familiar yet unsettling burden. He was undeniably my son, the resemblance unmistakable in the shape of his face and the unruly mop of dark hair escaping his sleep cap. Yet, a discordant note lurked beneath the surface. The boy was blind. His sightless eyes, devoid of any glimmer of light, and the prematurely weathered cast of his features sent shivers down my spine. The image uncannily mirrored the Aobozu, a malevolent spirit from folklore depicted as a blind, elderly monk. Curiosity, laced with a prickle of unease, compelled me to ask, "How did this happen, son?" I ventured, my voice thick with unspoken concern. His reply, delivered in a voice that defied his age, was a chilling counterpoint. It held the sweet innocence of a child coupled with a disconcerting maturity that sent a tremor through me. "I've always been this way, father," he said. Though the words themselves were simple, the way he spoke, the complex vocabulary he used, betrayed his youthful facade. There was an unsettling sense of equality in his tone, as if addressing a peer rather than a parent. It was a subtle shift that sent a jolt of disorientation coursing through me. We traversed a narrow path, hemmed in on both sides by the swaying stalks of young rice. The air was thick with the silence of the night, broken only by the occasional cry of a heron passing overhead. Its silhouette, a stark contrast against the inky canvas of the night sky, served as our only fleeting companion. "We're in a rice paddy, aren't we?" he piped up from behind me, his voice surprisingly steady for a child navigating the uneven terrain. Startled, I tilted my head back, surprised that he could discern our location despite his blindness. "How did you know?" I managed to ask, my voice betraying a hint of trepidation. A sly grin, barely perceptible in the darkness, seemed to emanate from his unseen face. "Because the heron sings here," he replied, his voice laced with a knowingness that sent shivers down my spine. As if on cue, the mournful cry of a heron echoed through the night, confirming his words in a haunting melody. Despite the comfort of knowing it was my son I carried, a sliver of unease wormed its way into my heart. This burden on my back was not just physical but emotional as well. The dense forest loomed ahead, a wall of darkness against the faint moonlight filtering through the canopy. It seemed like the perfect place to rest, to finally unburden myself. But the moment I entertained that thought, a chuckle, barely audible over the rustling leaves, escaped him. "What are you laughing at?" I asked, my voice taut with nervous anticipation. He offered no answer, simply posing another question. "Am I heavy, father?" "No, not at all," I lied, my voice strained. The weight on my back felt heavier than any child his size should be. "I'll be heavier soon," he said ominously, his words laced with a cryptic meaning that sent a tremor of unease through me. The path through the rice paddy seemed to twist and turn endlessly, a labyrinth with no apparent exit. The oppressive darkness pressed in on all sides, and my breath came in shallow gasps. Finally, we reached a fork in the road. Relief washed over me, a brief respite in the mounting tension. I stopped, hoping to catch my breath and gather my thoughts. "There should be a marker here," he announced, his voice surprisingly steady for a child. And just as he said, there it was, a weathered stone marker, no taller than 8 inches, standing sentinel at the fork. Carved into its surface were 2 stark directions. Left, Higashikubo. Right, Hodahara. The crimson paint, despite the darkness, glowed with an eerie brilliance, reminiscent of the underbelly of a fire salamander. Without a moment's hesitation, the boy commanded, "Left is better." I cast a wary glance in the direction he indicated. The forest there seemed even denser, its darkness clinging to the ground like a suffocating shroud. It felt like a monstrous entity, poised to engulf us whole. A tremor of fear ran down my spine, but I knew I had no choice. "Don't worry," he said, his voice oddly soothing in the face of my growing apprehension. How could he be so confident, so seemingly omniscient despite his blindness? This question gnawed at me as we ventured deeper into the forest. A sigh escaped his lips, barely audible. "Being blind is a terrible burden," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of bitterness. "It renders you helpless." "But I'm here carrying you," I retorted defensively. My voice, choked with a rising tide of guilt, sounded hollow even to my own ears. "Yes, you are," he acknowledged, "and I appreciate that. But blindness invites mockery. Father, even from one's own father." Suddenly, the boy spoke again, his voice cutting through the roar of the wind and rain. "Here it is, right here at the foot of that cedar tree." Despite the downpour, his voice rang out with an unsettling clarity. I stopped involuntarily, my muscles seizing up in fear. Without realizing it, we had entered the heart of the forest. The black thing a few meters ahead was, as the boy said, the shadow of a cedar tree, its ancient form etched against the stormy sky. "Dad, it was at the foot of this tree, wasn't it?" he asked, his voice laced with a chilling certainty. I could only stare, speechless, as the weight of the past threatened to crush me. "Yes, that's right," I finally managed to croak, my voice barely audible over the howling wind. "It was the 5th year of the Bunka era and the year of the dragon," he continued, his voice devoid of any emotion. "That's right," a voice echoed in the empty chambers of my mind. "It seems like it was the 5th year of the Bunka era and the year of the dragon." Suddenly the child said, "Exactly 100 years since the day you murdered me." As soon as I heard this sentence, a sudden spark ignited in my head, and I realized with horrifying clarity that 100 years ago, on such a dark night at the foot of this cedar tree, I had committed a terrible act. The moment I remembered being the murderer, the child on my back suddenly became heavy like a stone Jizo statue, pressing down on me with the weight of my sins. Well, our story is finished, but the weight of his actions remains. A crushing weight of guilt remains, a chilling reminder that the sins of the past can cast a long shadow. Will he find any solace, or is he forever condemned to carry the burden of his past? That, my friends, is left for you to decide. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and let me know in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Thanks for watching.